discussion today, we are recording it and we will be posting it afterwards. So people who are not able to make it today can see what was discussed, or if you want to go back and try to remember some things that were said, you'll have the opportunity to do that afterwards. But at this point, I'll just throw it over to Larry, who can do kind of the formal instructions, and then he'll throw it back to me.
Yeah, we do a lot of throwing around here.
Yeah.
But it's long distance throwing these days. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, and such a good turnout. Really appreciate it. I'm to give a little bit of the context. So the Canadian Network for Arts and Learning wants to be able to support the arts and learning sector. We got a grant a year ago from the Canada Council as part of their digital strategy fund, and that allows us to, I mean, we didn't say we were going to do these these roundtables. We were supposed to be meeting people in person in their communities. Well, that's not happening. So, but this seems to be a wonderful alternative. The context is that we had one series, and welcome back if you were in our previous series of discussions. And in those, we learned that a lot of people were being thrown, talk about throwing, thrown for a loop, and feeling a lot of anxiety and wanting to do something maybe digital or maybe not digital, and really it was very much up in the air. So we thought, well, okay, now has it been a month? I think so. Yeah. We did it actually more than a month. So we thought we would check it again, see how everyone's doing, see if we can do some sharing. You can do some sharing among yourselves, and we can, and get a feel for what's going on in the sector now. We've got some questions to help guide the discussion. You can say anything you want, but the questions should help to guide the discussion. I'd like to introduce our other staff members. Caitlin Bois is somewhere out there. Wave, Caitlin, if you're there. Are you there? She will be here.
I don't think she's here yet.
She's not here yet. Well, she is our she's our database coordinator. She builds the Canadian map of arts and learning. She's our kind of technological wizard who makes everything work. And Denisa Sills, I see Nisa there for sure. Nisa's our researcher. She wrote a report on the previous, which we are putting on the website, or it's almost there, of what was discussed at the previous series, and we'll be using these for advocacy for the sector. She will do a report again on this series, and basically try to articulate what is going on in the field to as many decision makers as we can reach. So I think that's I think that's it. That's it for introductions. We just want to hear from you, and Jennifer, would you like to lead off the discussion?
Sure, yes. So a little bit of housekeeping information, and most of you are very familiar with Zoom by now, I'm sure, but if you're not, just to let you know, there at the bottom, there's a chat function there. You can pull that up. You can also pull up the participants tab to see who's here, who's in the room. For the chat, absolutely encourage you to use that throughout the discussion if you wanted to chime in with something but didn't want to interrupt whoever was speaking, or also if you want to send personal messages to someone asking for if you want to follow up afterwards, etc. Encourage you to do that as well. And on the participant tab, there is an option to raise hands. So once we get going in the discussion, if you'd like to speak, go ahead and kind of virtually raise your hand. And if you can't figure that out, you can also just wave me down and I will call on you. Also throughout the discussion, I'll let you unmute yourself when you're going to speak. If you have trouble doing that, I can also unmute you, but we'll try to keep people muted throughout the discussion just to keep a rein on the outside noises that are happening. And also throughout this discussion, I'm going to be launching a couple of polls And that's just for us to get some kind of quantifiable data on kind of what you're doing. So on various digital questions as well as financial questions, and these polls are completely anonymous, so please do feel free to take part. So yes, that's it for housekeeping. Hopefully fairly clear for everyone. So to start off, we will go around the room, and again, like I said before, if you want to take part in the discussion, please do enable your video. And we are recording and we'll be publishing this later, but please do enable that so we can kind of go around the room to start off and just say basically your name and the work that you do, your title, basically, if that's applicable, and an organization that you work for, if that's applicable as well, and kind of where you're from. So we'll start off with Alan. Oh, sorry, Alan is not, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to. Go ahead, Alan.
Multitasking here. Just catching up. I'm Alan Roberts. I'm from Fort McMurray, and I'm the director of Canada Theatre and Arts Centre.
Wonderful, welcome. And Andy.
Unmute. Hi, thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
Andy Wersch, and currently doing a business program, a college program, but I am a volunteer here at St. Albert Dinner Theatre in St. Albert.
Great, welcome.
Thanks.
MG Stanley.
Howdy, yep. My name's Martin, and I'm at Jack James High School in Calgary. I'm the art teacher, grade 10, 11, 12.
Great. And Anne-Marie.
Hi, everyone. I work for the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra and the Winspear Center. I'm their musical creativity program coordinator.
Mhm.
Welcome. Cindy.
I'm Cindy Soderstrom with Alberta Ballet and Alberta Ballet School. I do the public funding for both organizations, and we're located in Calgary.
Wonderful, welcome. And Eva. There's two Evas, so whoever wants to speak up first.
I guess I'll go. I'm Eva Verity. I'm in public engagement with a focus on youth and community and accessibility at Esker Foundation, which is a contemporary gallery in Calgary.
Great, welcome. And Eva Knight.
Hi, I'm Eva Knight. I am a drama specialist with Rocky View Schools, and I'm also the co-director of an international theater, digital youth theater collective that started up this year.
Wow.
Wonderful, welcome. Christina from Evergreen.
Hi there, I'm Christina from Evergreen Theatre in Calgary, but we operate throughout Alberta. We are a environmental musical theatre touring company that works in the schools with shows and residencies based on science and environmental themes.
Wonderful, thank you. Jan Taylor. Try to unmute you here. There we go.
It worked. Hi, I'm Jan. I'm in Edmonton. I run Company Family Theatre. I'm also a playwright and educator, etc. And we do a number of classes and workshops and things, but we really focus on preschool and very early ages.
Great. And Kelly Lennon.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Lannon from Alberta Dance Sport and the Alberta Dance Sport Foundation here in Calgary. We teach dance and we also run festivals like the Calgary International Salsa Congress and the Edmonton Ballroom and Salsa Gala. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, thank you. Mark Litchfield.
Yeah, I'm Mark. I'm from Lethbridge. I'm just basically a studio owner. I run DanceWorks with a partner, and I'm just curious as to what's going on in the arts with this mess that's going on. That's why I'm here.
Great. And Melinda.
I'm Melinda Morale, also from Calgary, and like Mark, I'm a small studio owner. I teach children ages 3 to 18.
Great. Is it Parisa? Parisa.
Yes, I'm Parisa. I'm in Calgary. I also work at the Esker Foundation. I'm the volunteer and programs coordinator, focusing on children's and family programs.
Great. And Raj.
Hi there, I'm Raj Nigam. I'm with Arts Habitat Edmonton. I'm fairly new with the organization. I'm pleased to be here.
Great, welcome. Sabine.
I'm Sabine Schneider, Courier of Learning at the Art Gallery of Grand Prairie. Wonderful to meet you all.
Wonderful, welcome. And Tara.
Okay, I'll have to assume that you're talking about me. I'm Tara O'Donnell. I'm the culture superintendent for the city of Red Deer. And culture services, we offer everything from special event planning for our community, public art program, and then of course we offer programs in visual and performing arts.
Wonderful. And Wendy.
Wendy Mears. My title is Culture Community Development Coordinator, also with the City of Red Deer in Culture Services. So I work with Tara.
Great, wonderful. And did I miss anybody who wanted to be? I think I got everybody.
Hi there, just Jenny Peters here. My video is a bit out of commission right now, but I am willing to participate. Jenny Peters from Arts Commons. I'm the Education Associate there, working with K-12 Learning Through the Arts style programming. Thank you.
Great, wonderful. Great, so I think we got everyone. So we'll start in on our first question here, and it is a two-part question. So having experienced extended physical distancing and in light of measures now being taken to reopen society, how have you been faring in delivery of your programs? So at this point, virtually raise your hand is the best to get the ball rolling, or if you can't figure that out, just wave me down. How's everybody doing in terms of their programming right now and offering their programs? Anyone? So again, virtually raising your hand is in the participants tab, or you can, there we go, Tara.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, we are not offering our programs, and we feel like we're kind of in this holding pattern of, doing some research and trying to make the best recommendations. Obviously there's political, council has to weigh those sort of things, and it's just, we're a cog in a gigantic, super slow machine, and just trying to do the right thing. That's weighing that public health and community good. So yeah, we're just waiting to hear, really. We're looking to our city leadership, city manager and council to give us the official word, whether we go forward with summer camps or not. And then fall programming is a whole nother ballgame. I have to say, I'm not sure what it's like in Northwest Territories, but we have a weird conundrum with our reopening strategy where we're allowed to offer summer camps, but we can't open our facilities. So that's not going to work so well for us.
Okay, thank you. And yeah.
Go ahead. No, I'm just would love to hear from other people that are faring a little better.
Yes, well, we'll find out if anyone is, hopefully. Andy.
Okay, so as a volunteer in St. Albert with the dinner theater, that's come to a complete halt. There was a show all set to run, and attendees signed up to come and enjoy the show. So everything's at a standstill there, which I think, as a community and a nation, that's the smartest thing we can be doing right now, is taking that pause, taking that break, regrouping, figuring out, how do we approach this situation to make sure that we're giving the proper respect to the current health crisis, and considering the economy as well. But health and safety #1. It's nice to meet the ladies from Red Deer. Our youngest daughter was going to be attending Art Trek again, so you might have some involvement there, but I've been watching the website to see if there's any updates and those kinds of things. So seeing everything at a standstill, it's tough. I mean, we want to get out there, but I think the communication and the respect that people are giving to this situation and just keeping on a positive and making plans and doing the Zoom talks like this, I think, you know, we're doing what we can do. So that's what I have to say.
Great, thank you. Kelly Lennon.
Hello again, everyone. So from a dance school point of view, we do ballroom dance classes and salsa dancing. So that has come to a halt for sure. We host weekly events of more than 200 people who come out to ballroom dance. So it looks as though you know, that will be much later than even stage 3. In stage 3 of the reopening, still social distancing will be necessary. So we've looked at some contingencies on how to reopen the school. Right now, currently, we're moving our offerings to online classes, both pre-recorded as well as live Zoom classes and private classes from people's homes. We're also working on some online international initiatives. From the festival side, our International Salsa Congress was to run the last weekend of March. So we've currently postponed that. Many of our international guests come from the New York area, Italy, around the world. And also we have 800 to 1,000 people each night coming out to dance with each other. So at this point we've postponed and are not sure if we'll be looking at that for very late 2020 or 2021 or into the future 2022.
Right, thank you, Kelly. Anne-Marie.
Yeah, so for the Windspear and the Edmonton Symphony, there was a bit of a holding pattern for a little while, just in like how far in advance we needed to be postponing things. And of course, since the lockdown, it's been that we've just canceled the entire rest of our season, and likely it's not looking the best for the fall either, but we just have to sort of wait and see for that. But for like our community engagement and our educational initiatives, we very quickly pivoted, obviously, to a lot of online and digital content. So we tried to mirror the things that we would have been doing in person and how we could just make those available digitally. Still trying to be as mindful as possible about accessibility, given that, you know, perhaps there's only one device in a home. And so if we're sending something out for students to do or see or watch, that might not be always feasible. We partner with some of the surrounding First Nation communities of the Edmonton area, and so their accessibility is very limited as well, and how we continue to support them was very much on our minds. And so sort of like our solution has been just creating, honestly, like brand new digital content. We're very lucky that our concert hall is available to us. We own our own building as a symphony orchestra. And so we can access that, obviously exercising the proper social distancing rules and everything like that. But so creating live streamed concerts that are actually pre-recorded, just released live on Facebook and YouTube and things like that. And that's hopefully filling that void of our concert content that has all been canceled, and perhaps the way of the future a little bit, looking ahead. But for the like community aspect and just keeping engaged with our teachers and our students who are big supporters, we have a lot of different programs that we've kind of decided to roll out here, and several of them are like in the works currently and should be released within the coming weeks. So they would be great resources for teachers, for parents who have their kids at home, in keeping that kind of music and culture in their lives. We partner very closely with the educators in the Edmonton Public and Edmonton Catholic School Boards. And so you know, what we've heard through them is that the focus with online schooling is that they are to be receiving, you know, about an hour or so, and that it needs to be focused on literacy and numeracy. So we try to think how we could support that and also fill the void, since they're maybe not getting as much music education or arts education, performing, anything like that in their lives. So like, for instance, we have a series called Sounds Interesting that will be released, and that is talking about like the acoustics. So there's a little bit of science in there, there's a little bit of music in there, because we have access to our building and it's known for its acoustics. So just doing short video clips on that, doing like trivia stuff. So Trivia Tuesday is a thing, and anything that can't be Googled that they actually have to guess or estimate, and then wait for the answer that gets released the next day. And then like our, you know, those heritage moments, those Canada heritage moments that you see on TV. So kind of creating a series that's similar to that in a way, that's about like the history of the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra and the Winspear building itself. There's like the podcasts that we're trying to do. We always offered pre-concert talks and post-concert talks at one of our series so to mirror that, we're going to put those into podcast format, so that those are available. Using our musicians and using them, that sounds terrible, but you know, collaborating with them to do like an ESO 101, so a little bit of an interview series, and so that people get to know the musicians personally. So kind of rolling those things out there. And then like instrument intros, so creating a resource for teachers that is they could share with their students, that shows an actual ESO musician demonstrating the basics of their instrument. And so we call those instrument intros, and those will be rolled out soon as well. And then doing like a mystery musician sort of format, where over the span of a week they get pictures of personal items from a musician, and they have to guess who it is, and then they get to actually have like a group chat with the musician and interact with them and ask them questions, and maybe hear them play over the digital realm. So those are kind of sort of the options we've moved towards. And I know that like everybody's scenario is different, and also depending on the performing art that you're in, whether you have just easy access to musicians or if you have to create all that yourself is obviously a factor. But that's kind of where we've moved. But definitely summer programs, we have a few, and we're in that bit of a holding pattern on whether or not we offer those. And of course, I think the date for Alberta is May 14th, when that's apparently decided, or whether or not it goes forward. So we're sort of semi-waiting for that, but also at the same time, we're curious if even it were to be allowed, what the comfort level of the public is even going to be to participate. And so that maybe our best option perhaps is being entertained to just actually cancel that as well, and then try to come up with that virtual digital alternative that's different anyways. So yeah.
Wow, sounds like you've got a lot of good things. Have you rolled out anything yet, or it's all kind of coming in the following weeks?
So the live streams are definitely out there. Those are like upwards of 3 times a week. Something is definitely put on social media and YouTube by one of our ESO musicians. And we also have like the ESO 101, those personal interviews are definitely out there already. And kind of the musicians in their element sort of thing is out there. So we just, you know, them at home. We have a great cello player who has this amazing farm, and so it's following him around his farm. And so those things are out there. The educational content is actually, several things will be released today, probably right now as I'm talking to you, and then in the coming weeks after that. And the way we structured how we're releasing educational content is that it actually will go to our database of teachers first. So they'll receive it first, and then it will be made public on our website and our social media channels for just anyone to access.
That's great. And we'd love to help. We have a number of these resources that people have been offering. A lot of orchestras have been offering across the country, so please do let us know. We'll add that to our list. We'll help you promote it as well. And I'm very interested in what is happening with this in terms of, you know, the uptake and how the engagement. So I'd love to hear more about that as it gets rolled out. Eva.
I didn't know which one, but it's me.
Yeah.
So I'm coming in it from two perspectives here. The first being I work in elementary and middle school. So like Anne-Marie was saying, we aren't actually, I don't want to say allowed, heavily discouraged from doing anything outside of the 1 hour that we have for those students a day. And it does need to focus on literacy and numeracy. And so I'm a half-time music teacher. And so I'm actually not even doing my music education right now. I'm focusing on my homeroom and trying to bring in the arts as I can. But it's very hard because I have to make sure that I'm not doing arts, that it's through the arts that they're learning literacy, numeracy, right? And options have been canceled or not canceled, but for middle school are not happening because that once again, they need to focus on literacy, numeracy, science, and social. So I know at the high school level, it's a little different because they are still doing their options. But at the elementary, middle school, that's really hard. I've sort of lost half of my job, but have had more things put on my plate as a music educator because now I'm more of a resource teacher and a touch point for students who are struggling in literacy, numeracy. On the other hand, with Pretzel Theatre, which is my digital collaborative theater company, we started the process of our company back in January with my friend in Shanghai who was going to start the process off, and then China shut down. And so Britain, Abu Dhabi, New Zealand, and myself, we all started our intro videos. But as things have sort of shut down in different spots, I can't really do my portion anymore because of the middle school part where we're not really doing any options in middle school. My partner in New Zealand who runs a theater company for children, she and my colleague in Abu Dhabi, they were doing some monologues and that sort of thing back and forth with their students. But it's kind of grinded to a halt because the idea was that we would be with our students, produce something, and then send it around the world where we would collaborate and create a piece of theater. So we were all hoping to have shows by June, and we don't anymore. As a collective, we are presenting at some digital webinars and that sort of thing over the next 2 or 3 months for WAAE and AATE in the States, but it's been hard to get the group up and running. We were all excited, and now it's, even though it's a digital theater company, it's still hard to move it forward because we're working globally and every place is different. So it's been hard for myself as an artist and as an artist educator because I feel like it's all gone. Even though there's such great things like Anne-Marie was saying. So that's kind of where I guess I'm coming from.
Great, thank you, Eva. Harissa.
Yeah, so we're technically part of stage 1 reopening, which is like 2 days from now at the gallery, but not prepared to open to the public. So we're kind of looking at more of a timeline of hoping to be back in the gallery kind of as a staff maybe in June and preparing to open to the public. But there's so much that we have to do to kind of be able to switch over to, you know, timed entry, that kind of thing. And following the guidelines that have been put out, that's going to take us some time to set up. So kind of looking at a maybe like optimistic July more like opening. We've canceled all of our public programs until the end of the summer and are really looking at the fall. And really thinking that a lot of our programming, which usually obviously happens in the gallery in person, because of the restriction on gatherings and all of that, really kind of planning for most of our programming to be digital and looking at how we can take that online. We're already doing like weekly videos for children, for youth, doing like art projects, art classes digitally. So looking at expanding that and yeah, really looking ahead to kind of fall at this point. Yeah.
Right. Right. Thank you. Jan.
So I'm with a theater company, and so of course everything has shut down for us. But something that we've been doing that's been really interesting is we've been delivering hampers to inner city kids with one of our school partners, and one of our actors had this brainwave, and now what we're doing is we're putting together puppet craft packages to put in the hampers. So because I didn't want to add to any more screen time for kids, and plus like access and stuff like that. And we're hoping that the puppet packages eventually, somehow we're going to try and have the puppets meet for recess together, or to meet, I don't know, over tea or something like that, right? Just kind of riffing off people having, cocktail parties and stuff like that. So I just thought I'd throw that out because it's a very unique, it's such a tiny thing, but it feels more theater to me than anything else we've been doing. Anyway, so that's that.
Thank you. Anyone else have any thoughts on what's been said or comments on that? Kelly Malcolm has joined. I don't know if you want to do an introduction, Kelly. Joined a little later. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Kelly Malcolm and I work with the Pumphouse Theatre in Calgary, and we offer year-round classes and camps for kids. So we're kind of in that space of creating online drama classes for students and in the limbo of whether or not we're going to be offering our summer camps, which is a big part of our programming. So I'm interested to hear everyone's thoughts on that.
Yeah, and if anyone has anything else to add, otherwise I'll go on to the next question, which is also, how have you been faring in maintaining your personal well-being, and also that of, it could also be of your teens as well. So if there's been any kind of efforts that you want to share with us on that particular topic. Yes, Andy.
Hi, yeah, personal well-being, pretty good. Actually, I've been on Facebook since 2007, in which I went on there to organize a graduation reunion. And I find like at times like this, it's really cool. I've spent a little more time on there maybe than I need to, but also within my business studies, I am studying Facebook and Instagram analytics. So I've been able to connect with some of the people that I would typically see out in society. They've popped up in my feed. So, just kind of connecting that way. And yeah, it's good. And I make a point of getting out and going for a jog. I tried to go to the track the other day, did a couple laps, stopped for a short break. As I was coming back in, I saw the closed sign, so I should have known better, but I just wasn't looking for it. I've been jogging along the trails and whatnot, and along the trails it says keep the 2-meter distance. And I just didn't think about it when I was going to the outdoor track. So yeah, and I'm also thinking of planning something like a Zoom. We were going to have a family reunion this summer. It doesn't look like that's going to be going ahead. So I just offering that alternative to them that, you know, we can connect virtually. I have family, including my parents, that haven't in the past been comfortable with things like FaceTime calls, but they're working on it as well. So I've said to my parents, you know, it's just nice to actually see your face. So that's what I like about the FaceTime call, because you can see their eyes, you can see their smile, hopefully. And yeah, so just encouraging one another to connect in some way. I think that's the best thing we can all do for ourselves personally and for the ones that we care about and people that we might see on a normal day that we're just not seeing, right? So yeah.
Wow, thank you, Andy. Anyone else, either personally or with colleagues, if there's any efforts taking place or any kind of, yes, Eva Knight.
I know my husband is a theater artist, a director, and a fight choreographer. And so for us, it's been quite hard because he lost all of his work, right? And so we're really grateful for Curb because he doesn't really qualify for EI because he works for some places and he's a contract artist and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I'm still working, which is great, but I know for him, it's been really disheartening because he doesn't know when his next project is. He's taking care of our children at home, but that's really not, he loves our children, but that's not what he wants to do, right? It's like he wants to be out there creating art. And so I think that's been really hard for us from a family standpoint, is I'm stuck in the office all day and he's not creating, right? And so I'm concerned about like our artists, really.
Yeah. Anne-Marie.
Hi, yeah. Thank you so much for asking that question. I think that's a really important thing that we are also mindful of right now, is that sort of just like, how actually are you? And I feel very, very lucky because our organization has kept us employed. And so I still have my job and I still get to work with my team. And I think the biggest thing that we're experiencing sort of negatively is just, you know, when you organize all these things and everybody else in your organizations as well, right? Like things just take so much time. And it seems like if we're going to produce any type of content or product, we're behind the 8 ball, right? Because who could have predicted this and that this was what we would be doing right now? It's not how it was supposed to go. So it just feels like a day goes by and it's a little bit of an eternity, right? And that like, for instance, all of our digital content that we're creating and how some of it hasn't rolled out yet, but it's like all of these things are all of a sudden just going to be rolled out because it's taken us. I was part of the initial meeting that you set up as well back in March, or yeah, March. And like, it's taken us that long, right? To brainstorm, create the plan, make it happen, and now roll it out kind of thing. And it's just like, I think that sort of pressure, it's always there a bit when you have a plan, but when your plan gets completely like, just the rug is pulled from under your feet sort of thing, it really just weighs on you. And then working from home, doing all this stuff can really, you can be consumed by it, and you have to remember to set boundaries that like, okay, I'm going to stop working at 7 o'clock and I'm not going to do it anymore, even though I know all these things are pressing and need to be done or whatever, right? So I've noticed that's been a bit of a common theme with my team. And so just being very mindful of boundaries and the screen fatigue. Some things that would be a 5-minute conversation to walk down the hall and talk to somebody now has to be like at least a 15-minute Zoom meeting kind of thing. And so also trying to like eliminate those sort of meetings out of your life a bit, so that maybe it's just a phone call and just which I know is foreign nowadays. Who uses the phone? And so it's just call them up and ask them the question or whatever, and or text message, but that's still a little bit of screen time anyways as well. So thank you very much for asking that, but that's something that we've definitely noticed.
Thank you. Thank you. Eva, the other Eva.
Yes. I mean, I think both personally and professionally, we've really found there's sort of these highs and lows. There's these positive and negative ramifications of this odd situation. As a team, we've been trying to meet twice weekly, even just to see one another's faces. And sometimes those meetings are really encouraging, and sometimes it almost feels awkward or sad because it's like we're all kind of in the same boat doing the same things. So kind of a mixture. We have some team members who are also living alone, which is a challenge for some folks. We have some team members who have young children, which is a challenge for them. But definitely, personally and professionally, I've found, speaking to other colleagues, I used to work in theater as well, so a lot of my colleagues who are in theater are really used to this high intensity hustle, and they are actually, provided that they do have enough financial support and aren't suffering in that manner, they're finding this space a good thing to think through what they want to do going forward, to take a little bit of a break from, you know, this kind of overdrive of work that seems to happen. So it's like there's really challenging aspects for some folks financially, in terms of childcare, and in terms of the other challenges that are as a result of this, but also there's weird kind of space that's being created in some way. And I feel the same way. I feel like some days are feeling very productive, and other days it's quite challenging to pivot your entire, what you would normally do or produce in programming into another sphere entirely. It's essentially a whole new learning curve around technical aspects and content generation, and figuring out whether, and also this feeling of worth. Like, is it worth something to people? Are people really wanting this? Is this just something we're offering? And how to gauge the validity or the worth of that.
Very true. Thank you, Eva. Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Larry now, who's going to move us on to our second batch of questions.
Hey, well, thank you all very much for those responses. And it kind of boggles the mind, actually, how many different situations people are in, and how, you know, how you can try to react in your own environment. I'm here to ask you. I'm here to ask you about the future. I know this is like what's happening tomorrow. We don't know, but I'm going to ask you about the future because, and actually, I think it was Anne Marie who said this. But maybe it was somebody else. The idea that we're creating all of this online content, and we're learning. We've done all this learning, and but when we open up, so when the big opening up happens, stage 3 in Alberta or stage 1 somewhere else, in Quebec, what will you, are you going to retain some of this, or are you going to go, oh, thank God that's over, we're going to go back to what we did 12 months ago? So I'm looking at what are the changes? What's different in the future? So I mentioned the digital technology, but there may be other aspects that you're thinking of. So it's kind of like, and then I'm going to sort of throw my question all together. What's it going to be like for your on-site activities? Like, what's going to be different? What's going to be different there? And then just any ideas you have about how to, well, I think you've been talking about already, how to ameliorate the problems for your communities. But just what is the future? That's a very general question, but I hope that is enough to get you thinking about what you will be doing in the future.
Great. We'll start with Kelly Lannon.
That's a great question. We've been doing a lot of scenario planning, but we really feel that the public's comfort level is going to inform our decisions after we're given the regulations by the government. So I think that there's going to be the need to provide people the option for more distancing if they want to enjoy activities in a group. So we've been looking at different scenarios that will make that work out both health-wise, but also financially for the business. And I think it's going to be very important for collaboration between the arts groups and communities to support each other. It's going to be a really interesting rollout. People will be changing the way that they do business. For us, we're looking at how we can have our offerings allowed, not just in person, but also to have people have the opportunity to enjoy them virtually, and how we'll price those things and how we'll make them available to people. Trying to see the opportunity in the situation to collaborate with people who are maybe much further away. These Zoom calls make it feel like everybody's in my living room, and I know that I feel that way even with my friends internationally and my colleagues internationally. So I'm looking at collaborating even further and trying to see the opportunity in the reopening and the restructuring.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Andy.
Okay, well, I'm going to mention those that, for instance, that would be graduating grade 12 this year. It's very sad that they're not going to experience that in a way that a lot of us likely have experienced. The biggest thing is there's discussions about recreating that at another time. Well, I mean, do I really believe that's possible? I don't. I really think a lot of those people, you know, they're going to have already moved on into the next step or whatnot. So just with that in mind, rolling out programs and performances and things that we've done in the past, I think a lot of the same patterns can be followed, but there's going to have to be a lot of new advertisements, a lot of really exciting stuff coming out to engage people, to let them know it's okay to come back, as well as obvious precautionary measures. I think that will be there probably for, I'm thinking even years to come, in terms of, okay, we're looking at things like dance classes and music, and those sometimes obviously there's contact or there's sharing of equipment, things like this. So I really think there's going to be a need for some caution there, and that can be done in a fun way as well, right? So yeah, I think just finding, some of us will find some new enthusiasm here as things are unrolling again, and that's going to be what it takes to get some of these programs to take off. But we've got to be reassuring each other, you know, what the boundaries are and what they aren't.
Great, thank you, Andy. Yeah, Jenny Peters.
Hi there, everyone. We don't have a lot of answers, of course, or we've been moving very slowly with these questions at Arts Commons and doing different scenarios. And of course, we are part of that late stage opening with the public gatherings, and the question of whether or not people will be comfortable gathering in a theater or a concert hall has definitely been probably one of the biggest ones really that we've addressed. In terms of education, one thing I've tried to sort of turn my mind to that actually helps me envision the future is in the few materials that I have been creating, which are some learning through the arts resources that support the literacy piece, kind of like art journaling through the arts type exercises, and a few family arts at home projects that are, to be honest, a little dime a dozen, which is it's my own work, so I can say that about my own work. But I try and think of the resources that I am producing as something that we will be able to use as online resources to support our programs down the road anyways. So it's kind of an opportunity to create things that teachers have asked us for in the past to support our programming that we've never really had time to work on. So that helps me think about the future by creating things that I think will have a long-lasting resource support for our programs when we are able to come back and gather together and do our site programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne-Marie.
Yeah, so the future planning of our organization and our content and our programs has been right from day one of lockdown. There was like a bit of a task force almost formed to begin to think about that. And of course, given all of the research that seems to be revealed little by little as it's more known, with like orchestras and singing, like choirs specifically, who we often host, has been a little bit concerning and somewhat disappointing too, because it's painting a very grim picture for the chance of even, you know, in a stage 3 go ahead reopen thing, whether or not if it's really smart and would make an audience feel comfortable. And so I think a lot of the new digital initiatives that we've made will continue. And part of that sort of task force has been how do we begin to, of course, monetize things, because the regular product will not be the same anymore. One of my team members actually compared what we're going through a little bit to kind of like 9/11, if you will, and that likely things just never will be the same. And so that, you know, just how it impacted airport securities, like those things in the 90s didn't exist and now it's just common. And so some of the things that we might have to implement will always be there. So trying to think of a hybrid of what was and what we've done now and our pivot strategies and how they will look moving forward is kind of where our mindset is these days. But still trying to remain hopeful that, you know, it will return to a level of normalcy.
Right. Anyone else have any thoughts on the future, and whether or not you continue these types of initiatives? Also, if anyone has, I know everybody's using Zoom, but also other platforms that you might be using, or something that might be helpful or has been helpful for you, and may be helpful for others who others might like to hear about what you're doing on certain platforms. If anyone has any thoughts on any of that, either the future or specific digital technology.
I also wanted to follow up on my other question, because as you were talking, I'm wondering, do we see the world differently now? Like, is our worldview different from what it was 3 months ago? Are we, you know what I mean? Different people.
Yeah, Eva, start with Eva.
I mean, I definitely think I think it's maybe individual or personal, but you know, my philosophy has always been about bringing people together and bringing different groups together to learn together, or different demographics together, exchange, especially for me around youth, and bringing you know, youth and adults together in different ways, practicing artists together with youth, and just this whole framework in my own mind is around exchange and the value of that. And it's very challenging to imagine, and it has been an ongoing challenge to imagine how to recreate that in a space that's safe for everyone, and that's meaningful for everyone, because that level of exchange is just completely different digitally. Even if you can have live content or the kind of chatty, interactive, Instagram Live, all of those things, it's not quite the same, I think, as many who are theater and performance-oriented practitioners know. It's not the same as having everybody in the room, even if it is for a visual arts program. So I've been personally struggling with that, and because it's such a big part of just what I think is so effective and meaningful about education and creative exchange. So, but yeah, I mean, speaking to that, we've been thinking a little bit, trying to figure out if there's some kind of a hybrid way that we can have a digital element, but maybe there's a smaller group in person, or I don't know, what is the safe way that we can get as many people together as possible safely who are comfortable doing so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Andy.
Yeah, Eva, that's exactly it. Just trying to there's a lot of invention going on here right now in terms of okay, what can we do, and the ideas that are coming up. And I think there's a lot of people coming into certain spotlights in such an unplanned way because of our world situation, and it's quite amazing. So Larry, your question, is the world changed? Is it different? I think there's a lot the same, but I think the fact that I don't know about you, but I am used to being out and moving all day long, and to just have to be still, I've really had to go into my core self and just say, okay, what's important here? And really, kindness, number one. Honestly, we're only going to get through this together, talking through, working through, and just, I think, being encouraging. And like I said, there's going to be so much invention coming out of this that some of it's surprise invention, I think, because everything starts with just like a thought, right? So yeah, I'm quite pleased overall. I know some people are struggling, but if you do see someone struggling, I think that's all you can do, invite them, to take a moment, have a FaceTime call, something, just boost them up a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Anyone else have any thoughts on the future, on if the world is different, or if we're different at this point, or anything else at all, actually, if anyone has anything else they would like to add. And I also hope that people are checking out the chat. There's lots of great comments happening on there, and some links. So please do take a moment to look at the chat. I will be, as I said, posting the video, but also the chat as well. So if
why don't we ask, do we have Caitlin on now? Why don't we ask Caitlin just to say what she's got for us so far?
Sure.
Oh, sure. Excuse me. Yeah. So over the course of the first 2 weeks of webinars that we did, people were sharing some of the platforms that they were using for digital collaboration and skill sharing, and I collected as many of those as I could, and they're on our website on the resources page that we've compiled, which I'm going to share in the chat box. It also includes information about like funding opportunities and other arts organizations around the country that have shared their own COVID-19 resource pages. So yeah, I wasn't here for the first little bit, but if anyone did share anything in the first half hour or so, in terms of what they're using, platforms and whatnot, I'll go back and add those to the page as well. But I encourage you, if you need some ideas, have a look at that page on our website.
And as I said to Anne-Marie earlier, when she's launching those educational programs, if anyone else, there have been some that have been mentioned in the chat as well. We are happy to help promote that as much as possible. We have a bi-weekly newsletter where we send out resources, and we are, just let us know what's going on. We want to be able to follow up with you as well. And so just let us know, communicate with us so we can help you as best we can.
I don't know if I credited Canada Council, but it's Canada Council money that's allowing us to do this series instead of going to visit you, which I wanted to do. But anyway, I think we're actually reaching more people this way. I mean, we are learning, everyone's learning, right? And I think we're reaching more communities actually digitally than we were doing in our own in-person. But I think we want to also go back to in-person, and we have to rethink who we are, what we're doing, and how we're going to approach it. So I just want to thank everybody very, very much. It was really wonderful to hear you. And we'll be back. We'll be back to check in with you later. But this has been quite amazing. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Enjoy your day.